friends, welcome back to DIY with Fiona. I hope you guys are all having a really great week. So I really enjoy doing themed videos that use the same material for all the projects in the video. So in the past, I've done videos just focusing on eucalyptus leaves and another one on wooden beads. So this week we are going to create clay DIY home decor. So temperatures in LA have finally started dropping a little. It's time for sweater weather, even though I'm wearing a denim jacket right now. But these clay projects are perfect because you have to bake them in the oven, so turning on the oven and getting cozy is perfect for this weather. For all these projects, we're going to be using polymer clay, which is a really cool material. It's soft when it's just out in the open, but once you bake it, it hardens into a hard clay material. The material is super easy to work with, so if you've never worked with clay before, it's really beginner friendly. All the supplies we'll be using this week are really inexpensive and simple, and will create really aesthetic projects. All the supplies are also linked down in the description below, so you guys can easily get it yourself as well. I think all these projects turned out so well, so please comment below on which one was your favorite project. And subscribe if you haven't already, and please like this video, it really helps my channel out. Alright, here are the DIYs. So this is the polymer clay that we'll be using for all our projects, and this is what it looks like outside the packaging. Our first project is a fun abstract face trinket dish. I've been seeing images of these dishes all over Pinterest. So for all of these projects, we start off by breaking off the amount of polymer clay we'll need and kneading it until it's soft and pliable. Then roll it out to the size you need. I did around a palm size for this dish at around a 1/4 inch thickness. I used an X-Acto knife to cut out an oval shape to represent a face. We'll create a face by using some rolled clay for the face features. We'll start by framing the face, so just use your rolled clay and put it along the perimeter of the dish. Press it down slightly to get it to stick to the base. Next, we'll be making the face features. We'll make kind of a side teardrop shape for the mouth, so it kind of looks like a face is talking. Just pinch off 1.5 inches of the rolled clay and pinch the ends together to create the mouth. Then we'll create one eye by just creating an upside down arch shape. To create the nose, we'll make a longer clay rope and connect it from the eyebrow down to the nostril. There's no right or wrong way to do this, so just shape it in the way that you think looks best. Feel free to move and adjust the rope clay until it's to your liking, then you can press it down when it's in the position you want it at. Next, I pinched off tiny pieces from the rolled clay and added it to the eye to create eyelashes. I dispersed them evenly across the eye. Follow the instructions on your polymer clay package on baking instructions. Mine said 275 degrees for 15 minutes for every 1/4 inch thickness. So we're just following the instructions and setting up our oven right now. Here's a sneak peek of the other projects we created going into the oven. Once your clay is done baking and cooled, you can start painting it. I wanted to keep it pretty neutral, almost like the clay color, so I used mainly white with a hint of ochre and black to create an off-white color. The painting part is super easy. You just mix your colors and do an even coat all over the dish. Make sure to get the sides and into the crevices. If you want a really even color, do a second coat of paint as well. Let it dry and it's ready for your jewelry. This next project makes me so happy. We'll be creating a decorative rainbow sculpture. After kneading the clay, I rolled it to around a semicircle shape and around a 1/2 inch thick. Then we'll clean the edges and cut it into more of an exact semicircle shape with our X-Acto knife. You want to make sure you have an even bottom because that's how your sculpture will stand. For the arch, I just eyeballed it, but if you want a really exact and precise semicircle, you can use a circular object you have at home and use that as your guide. Next, we'll cut the arch out for each color. I did it around a 1/2 inch wide for each band, and whatever was left in the middle arch was a bit wider. In total, we'll have 6 separate pieces. Once you have all your rainbow pieces cut, go ahead and bake it. When it's baked and cooled, you can start painting the arches. We won't follow the typical Roy G. Biv rainbow colors, but instead we'll mix it up with the colors. We'll be painting the middle arch with an ochre color, so make sure you get all the sides except the bottom. I kind of painted these out of order, but I painted the second largest arch next in the same ochre color mixed with a lot of white, so it became a pastel yellow color. Next, I painted the third largest arch with this burnt orange color. I mixed a bit of the burnt orange with a lot of the white to create a pinkish pastel color and painted the largest arch in this color. Next, we'll create a pastel blue color using lots of white and a bit of the navy, and we'll paint the third smallest arch in that color. For the second smallest arch, we'll create a dark purple eggplant color by mixing equal amounts of the burnt orange and the navy. I had to do a couple coats for each color to get a solid overall coverage, but after that, you're all done. For this next project, we'll be creating a pretty pink geometric clay wall hanging with twine detailing. Like every project, we'll knead the clay first and then roll it out. For this project, we'll be rolling it to around 1/4 inch thick. I used a moisturizer to measure and cut out a circle. You can use any circular object you have at home to cut out the circles. Preferably, if it has a flat surface, it won't create any imprint on your clay. I ended up cutting out 2 large circles and 4 smaller circles. For the smaller circles, I cut one of them in half and just used one of the semicircles in the wall hanging. For the larger circles, I cut one of them in half and kept both semicircles in the hanging, and for the other large circle, I just cut a piece of the circle out to create a crescent shape. I used a yarn needle to poke holes in the top and bottom of each clay piece so we can string them together later. Make sure to move the yarn needle in a circular motion to make the hole a bit larger, so when you string the twine through later, you can fit the yarn needle through again. So this is what it'll look like laid out. For 2 of the smaller circles, I used the yarn needle and pressed horizontal lines into the circles to create some more additional texture into these pieces. Once the clay is baked and cooled, we can start painting it. We'll be using a burnt orange, black, and white to create a muted pink pastel color. Just use the teeniest, tiniest of black, a dab of orange, and lots of white. Paint the front and sides of your clay pieces. To add even more visual interest, I mixed a bit of white paint and water and kind of flicked it onto the clay by dipping the paintbrush into the paint water mixture and flicking the brush with my fingers. It just adds a subtle bit of texture. The twine I had was pretty thick, so I separated the twisted twine into 3 strands. Then I just connected the clay pieces together by stringing the twine through the holes. Once the twine is connecting two of the clay pieces, just hot glue the ends of the twine together to create a loop. Repeat these steps until you have all your pieces connected together. For the very bottom, we'll create a tassel with the twine. I cut around 6 5-inch long pieces of twine and folded it in half. Secured it in the middle to the bottom clay piece. Then I got a piece of twine and wrapped it around the folded piece of twine a few times and hot glued it in place and cut off any loose ends. There you have it! Your clay hanging is ready to be hung up and displayed. This next clay project is an easy ring holder. You'll need to knead out the clay, but this time you don't need to use a rolling pin to roll it out. Once the clay is kneaded, you'll just start shaping it into a cone shape. It needs to fit your rings on it, so make sure to hold it up next to your finger to see if it's around the right size for your rings. That's it for shaping it. Bake it and let it cool, and you're ready to paint it. Mix a bit of black paint with lots of white paint to create a gray color and paint it all over the ring holder. To add a bit more visual interest, we'll add some speckles to your piece by mixing black paint with water to get a more liquidy texture. And then, like the project before, we'll use our finger and the bristles to flick the paint onto the ring holder. Super easy, and it makes such a beautiful statement with your rings. This last project is a beautiful, elegant clay and yarn wall hanging. After kneading your clay, we'll be rolling it out into long strips of clay. Get your X-Acto knife and cut 2 strips out to be around 3/4 inch wide bands. Take your first band and create a narrower arch. Trim the sides if they've gotten uneven from the bending. Cut the ends to square them off as well. Grab your next band and create a wider arch. This is what it would look like laid on top of one another. Use a yarn needle to poke holes in the 4 ends of the bands. This is where we'll attach the tassels later. When it's baked and cooled, you can paint it. I decided to leave the narrower arch as is, but I wanted to paint the wider arch a nice neutral gray by mixing black and white acrylic paint. I used Gorilla Glue to glue the front and back arches together and creates a stronger bond than hot glue. So I just dabbed the places the arches would meet and put the wide arch on top of the narrower arch. You can put some weighted objects on top to hold it in place as it dries. These are the yarns we'll be creating the tassels out of. I'll link them in the description below. We want pretty long tassels, so I used a notebook as a template. I wrapped the yarn around the length of the notebook 30 times. Then I snipped a 6-inch piece of yarn and tied it through the top loop. I took the loops off the template and grabbed a longer piece of yarn and tied it around the loops to create a tassel. Then we'll cut the bottom loops to free the ends and give it a trim to even it out. Make 3 more tassels following these same exact steps. Next, we'll tie the tassels to the clay. Tie the white tassels to the white arch and the gray tassels to the gray arch. Cut the loose yarns from the knots and hang up your wall hanging. much for watching this video. I really had so much fun making all these projects and I think they turned out so well. I really loved how the face trinket dish turned out and the rainbow sculpture just adds so much color to the space and it's so fun. Comment below if you guys plan on making any of these projects. I would love to see how they turn out. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, please click the subscribe button below. Alright, till next time guys, bye!